Have you ever thought about taking a career break or a sabbatical? Was that just a wild daydream, or is it something that you should actually do? And how do you do it? This week, we speak with Katrina McGhee, who is a certified master coach with an MBA. She wrote a book called Taking a Break for Dummies, and she also coaches professionals on figuring that question out. Katrina talks about her story and her own sabbatical. She gives us practical steps on figuring out whether this is the right path for you or not. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Wellness Empowerment Project. I'm Trish.
And I'm Julie. We are two nurses exploring holistic healing and wellness practices to empower you to be the leader of your own health. Join us as we try out new things, or as we call it, weird shit, and have some fun along the way.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to this. We are here with the amazing Katrina McGhee as a career break and sabbatical coach. On top of that, she's an author of the best-selling book, Taking a Career Break for Dummies. As a certified master coach with an MBA, Katrina empowers mid-career professionals to create transformation and daring breaks, ultimately leading to a more fulfilling and satisfying life. Her clients return from their breaks recharged, inspired, happily employed, and forever changed. On their time off, over 70 clients have traveled the world, launched a business, and even changed careers. Katrina's work was inspired by her own 20-month career break, where she saved $40,000 in just 18 months to quit her corporate job and then travel the world. She's now an enthusiastic world traveler and digital nomad. Her advice on career breaks, money, and travel has been shared across various outlets, including Forbes, Smarter Travel, Thrive Globe, and Yahoo. Welcome, Katrina.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Katrina, after reading your bio, I have to jump in. And my first question is that I'd love to hear your story of what brought you to your own personal decision of taking a career break.
Yes. You know how they say the human brain likes to seek pleasure and avoid pain? So for me, it was definitely driven from a place of wanting to avoid pain. And that pain was misalignment and burnout. I was in my second corporate career. So I had a first career as an actuary in the healthcare industry and did that for 8 years. Went on to get my MBA. I thought I would find happiness and light just radiating and shining down on me if I just changed careers. Like my career is just the problem. I'll just change my career. I went into market research and I had a really good job with a really great company. But 8 months into that new life, I realized I was feeling even worse. It was at that point where I was very aware I was living a life that was not a life I would have chosen. It was a life I had accidentally ended up in by default of trying to always be seen and to be successful. So going after milestones, jumping through the hoops that were before me that successful people jumped through. And it wasn't fulfilling. I felt really unhappy. I felt burned out from just the grind and the rat race and just trying to always go, being on that hamster wheel. I just knew that my life had to change because it felt like I was about 31 at the time. And it just felt if I don't change this now, I'm not sure it will ever change. And before I know it, I'm going to be 65 and retiring. And I'm going to wonder what happened to my one magical life. This was not the life that 15-year-old me would have wanted nor envisioned for myself. So I hired a life coach and really started doing a lot of hard and deep work to see the rules I had for myself that I just didn't need to have. All of the choices I was making that I didn't think were choices, I just thought they were the defaults, like what I had to do. When I saw those rules, I started asking myself the question, what if I break them? What if I put myself first? What do I really want? And what if I give myself permission to do that instead? I had an epiphany several months into working with her that I just wanted to quit my job and travel around the world for a year. And that led me to career break number one.
Katrina, I'm curious, did you get a lot of resistance from family, friends, from people around you when you made that decision?
Good question, Julie. So yes and no. On the whole, I did not. So a lot of people were curious. Some people were confused. But in general, because I was so grounded in that decision, so for me, it wasn't a reactive, I can't take this, I'm quitting tomorrow. My break was, oh my gosh, I want to travel around the world for a year at least. I have $1,500 in my bank account. I have to come up with a plan to start saving as much and as quickly as possible. But it still took me another 18 to 20 months to get my life in order and to save the money and do the things. So it was a conversation I was having, but there was like a vision and a plan, and I could tell people what it is I wanted to do. And I was working for a long time towards that goal. I think that probably worked in my favor in regards to people's perception of what I was doing. But because I had such a clear sort of voice inside of me telling me this is what I wanted to do. And because I had been doing so much work with the life coaching beforehand, I felt certain. And I talk about this in the book and with my clients. When you are certain, you allow other people the ability to be certain as well. Because when you're doing something unconventional, like taking a career break or taking a sabbatical, a lot of times people are like, I don't know if that's good or bad. And they look to you to be like, should I be excited for you or should I be worried? A lot of people just mirrored my excitement and they might not have understood it. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of questions, a lot of curiosity, but in general, they were really supportive. Wow, that sounds amazing. I don't quite understand how you're going to do it or exactly like what prompted all of this, but it sounds really exciting. I hope you're going to have a blog or share this online somehow so that I can follow along. That said, there were a few people, most of them family members, that were like, I don't understand. And I think this is a big mistake. I just need to speak up and say that because I don't think you realize you're jeopardizing so much. Like you could just take a long vacation and keep your air quotes great job and great life and not have to sacrifice. But I just took that as that's their opinion and that's them making choices for their life. But those choices don't apply to my life because I'm me in my life. And it just was something I knew I needed.
That's fantastic. What you said about being confident in the decision and even just your energy level in talking about that experience really uplifted your whole being. Just talking about it right now, it shuts other lower frequencies down.
It's a great way
There
to say it. Yeah.
it's they don't even have a chance. With you glowing that way, you're like, "This is what I'm gonna do. This is how I'm gonna do it." And being from a burned out state to such an elevated frequency, that sounds like a lot of work. What were some of the initial things that you did to start to elevate that frequency and get yourself into alignment?
Yeah, I love this question, and I'm happy to report it's a simple answer. The most foundational thing that I did in that process was develop a clear purpose statement. So I was lucky in that working with a life coach, when I had this realization, I had been doing the work to excavate what it is I really want for my life and how badly or poor of a fit my current life was to the life I wanted. And to me, it was so clear from the very beginning because of that work. This break was a chance to save my life. This break was a chance to take the train tracks that my life had been going on and hit the flip switch, right? So that it pivots to a whole different set of train tracks and goes in a direction that I want it to go in. What I coach my clients on, the very first thing I make them do is develop a purpose statement for their break. When we talk about confidence, if you are not clear why you're taking a break, or if you're just focusing on the thing that you're trying to get away from, which believe me, I'm all for leaving bad situations. But if that's the only thing you're clear on, it leaves room for self doubt. It leaves room for a lot of self doubt and a lack of clarity. So when you're trying to explain to people, your answer is something like, I just can't do this anymore. Or I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I feel miserable. And that's okay. That's valid, but it's not really empowering. But when you know why, so in my case, it's I am on the wrong track and I am finally going to step up and I'm going to take great stewardship over this life of mine and I'm going to go for the life I really want. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try it out. I might fail in the process, but I'm going to go live life on my terms. It's an empowered way of framing what that break is. And it creates confidence within me because I am clear. I'm not clear on how the break is going to go. I'm not clear on what's going to happen after. I'm so clear though that I need this and I know why I'm willing to make that sacrifice. I would say understanding the purpose. For one of my clients, one of my favorite purpose statements I've developed with a client is she wanted to put herself back at the center of her life. I think that's something as adult women, especially, we can relate to feeling like all of the responsibilities, job, family, work, older parents, whatever you've got going on, it feels like over time we put those in the middle and we're just working so hard to keep everything else okay and everything else afloat. We're just floating around on the outside rim, barely getting anything. It was a chance for her to just clean the plate off and scrape everything off and to put herself in the middle and then rebuild a life around her. Once she knew that, it's so much more empowering and it's easier to feel confident when people are like, "You're doing what?" I'm putting myself back at the center of my life versus I'm not really sure. I just know I feel like crap.
That is, it's so clear and it's so powerful. I have to ask though, I feel like there definitely was a lot of work though to even get to the point where you had that bold confidence to say, I'm now going to actually create this purpose statement for that sabbatical. So, what work did you do to get yourself from essentially burnout
Yeah.
to the point where you were even ready to make that decision?
Yeah. Remember when I was still burned out, those 18 months, it was just I had something giving me some energy and some like this thing was pulling me. It was giving me some type of fire for life again, like it was reigniting a spark, but I was still struggling with burnout. I found that putting my energy into something by saving and planning for this thing I was excited for was helping to counterbalance the burnout. I definitely had some burnout going into my break, but the work that you're alluding to, absolutely. It was first of all, it was unpacking what are all of the rules I'm following right now that I don't want to be following? What do I believe about myself that I don't want to believe, right? It can be something as silly as, and then not that this is silly, but it could be something as simple as I have to be a size 4 to be a good person. Like something really silly that your brain is telling you over and over again. You're not allowed to enjoy your life quite yet because you're not good enough, or there's this thing that you have to do. You just have to keep trying harder to be something that you're not already. So you can't enjoy it now. You got to keep working hard to enjoy it. Unpacking those rules gives you the space to just see what it is you really want. That was a really big question I had to answer. My life coach actually guided me through this activity that I use with my clients now to develop what I like to refer to as compass words, which are states of being. So having 4 to 6 words that describe your ultimate state of being, right? Independent, free, happy, light, valuable, whatever it is you want to feel accomplished, and really consciously trying to create more of that every day and acknowledging that you already start to feel some of those things in your life, but your brain is just so busy telling you all the ways you're not enough. It's dismissing the good things that you already have or the good moments and the good feelings. It was really getting clear on what I wanted and then starting to recognize I didn't have to follow all these rules that were making me miserable. That freed me up to speak that truth that I want to break. I think one of the most and simplest powerful questions you can ask yourself if you think you want to break or you suspect you want to break or you're considering a break is what is it that what would make this worthwhile? What would make this break worthwhile for me? And why does it mean so much? Why do I want it? That simple question, why do I really want it, can be very powerful to help you develop a purpose statement. If you're somebody that knows more about what you don't want, you can ask yourself a question like, how do I not want my life to be once this break is over? If I took a break and I cut all the cords of everything that's attached to me that I feel obligated to, and I just hit the reset button, how do I not want it to be when it's over? You can also ask yourself, how do I want it to be? But sometimes it's easier to say what you don't want, or at least to start there. And that can help you start to understand what's really at risk if you don't make this break and take this break, make this change and reset your life in a way, or at least give yourself this pause.
You spoke about compass words and how they describe your ultimate state of being. How does one discover what words truly are your own compass?
Okay, Julie, I love this question. And because I like you and Patricia so much, I'm going to tell you. But if you're listening to this and you want to do it, I'm just going to give you a preface. If you're doing this activity, stop the podcast and do the activity in real time because I'm going to spoil it by giving you the 3 steps, but you can't know the third step until you can't know the third step until you've gone through steps 1 and 2. But I love you guys. I'm going to tell you. So first, you start with giving yourself a list of everything you would want to do or to try in your life. Okay. So normally when I ask my questions this way to my clients, they're thinking, oh, we're going to do something fun, some type of activity with like skills or interests. And that's not it at all. But you start with a list. So maybe you thought it would be so cool to have my own dental practice. It would be so cool to be a bartender. For me, it was like, I want to be an actress on SNL. I think it would be so fun to be a hotel critic. You might think that the thing is, I would love to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. It's creating a list, as many as you can put together, of things that you want to do and or be. That's step 1. If you're listening to this and you want to do this activity, you have to stop now and create the list. The second step is that you then, after you've created this list in a whole separate moment, like I recommend a different day, you go through and you write the feeling slash being words that you attach to each thing. If you imagine hiking Mount Kilimanjaro, what is it that you think you're going to feel when you hike Mount Kilimanjaro? I'm going to feel strong. I'm going to feel brave. I'm going to feel proud. I'm going to feel accomplished. You do that for every single thing on your list. So the hotel critic, I'm going to feel exciting and free and interesting, whatever your words are. Maybe your word is beautiful, attractive, magnetic, like it could be anything you want. Now you're going to have words appear multiple times. That's totally fine. That's normal. But you want to do it for each item and list as many words as you can for each item. Now, step 3, and I recommend doing this at a different point in time. Once you have this messy list, you're going to condense it down to one list with every single feeling or being word just one time. So if you had, I would feel magnetic on there 5 times, you just write it once, but it's every word one time. And you sit somewhere quietly in a place that feels good to you, and you read that list once you have it. And there are a few words that will jump out and scream at you, please, I want to feel this so badly. And you circle those words, and those 4 to 6 words become your compass word. At this stage and season of your life, this is what your spirit is craving the most to feel. If I had a magic wand and I waved it, and I could make you feel these 4 to 6 words, it would not matter where you were living or what you were doing. If you felt this in your body, you would feel like this is the most awesome life. And so then you go through the process of trying to create more of those feelings and acknowledge and recognize those feelings when they're already appearing in your current life.
So after you've picked those words, what do you do with them?
I love that. There are 2 things you do with them. First, you're going to write them down on a Post-it note, and you're going to put them somewhere you see them every day, whether it's on your laptop keyboard, your refrigerator, your bathroom mirror, when you're brushing your teeth, wherever. And you're going to silently read them every day. So you're going to be reminding yourself what your words are, because so often this is unconscious. We're thinking about the result or the outcome or the tangible material thing or the promotion that we want. And we think that thing is going to make us feel all the feelings we want to feel. We're not thinking about the actual feelings. We're projecting that onto the thing. But actually, as you guys know, we can have the thing, but the thing doesn't create the feelings, we do. You want to be conscious of what the feelings are that you want to be feeling. So writing them down on a Post-it note or a virtual sticky note on your laptop, helping you see them, make them conscious. And then you want to think about it in 2 ways. You want to think about reflecting on and celebrating when you do feel that word. In the beginning, you might find it easiest to do that once a day at the end of your day, maybe as you're crawling into bed and you're getting comfortable under the covers. And you think about those 4 to 6 words and you just think, did I feel free today? Was there a moment that I felt free? Was there a moment that I felt intelligent? Was there a moment that I felt confident? Was there a moment that I felt courageous? And just really making your brain remember when you are feeling those words, even for a glimmer. If you keep practicing this, eventually you'll recognize it in the moment and you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is confidence and I'm feeling it. It feels so good. And it extends the moment that you're feeling it and amplifies that feeling. The other thing is choosing a word of the week. Some of my clients like to do it as a word of the day, but most of my clients prefer a word of the week. But you pick one of those words and you set the intention to try to feel more of that and create more of that every day. Some of my clients like the word creative. That comes up a lot. If creative is their word of the week, it's like making the decision, I'm going to try to feel more creative today. It can be something as simple as you're making yourself a salad for dinner and you remember creative is your word. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to get a little wild and crazy and I'm just going to buy some ingredients I would never normally put in a salad. Or I'm going to look up a recipe for a recipe I've never tried before. I'm going to wing it and make my own salad dressing. It doesn't have to be anything over the top. But if that helps you tap into just a sense of creativity and feeling creative, you want to do that, right? You want to take an opportunity to make more space for you to feel creative in your day-to-day life.
So, Katrina, that sounds like a wonderful practice, but it makes me also have to wonder, does everyone that comes to see you, are they already dead set of, I want to take a sabbatical? Or are they curious about it? And do they start working with you? And do people realize that they may not need a sabbatical?
I love that question. The majority of my clients do take one. But that said, I have a lot that come to me and they're not sure. They're questioning, but they know that they would really like to know for sure if they can. What's really going on most of the time is that they have a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty. There's a part of their spirit that is like, girl or guy, you got to give us our best chance. Let's just work with her because we got to give this our best chance. But I don't know if this is for me. I'm not sure. My partner might not be fully on board. I might be not fully on board. I don't know if I can really afford it. I'm not sure why I'm doing it, but I know some part of me is, please just consider it. They come to me. This actually has happened multiple times. One of my clients, and I still joke about it to this day, her pre-work. So I give everybody pre-work to do to reflect and understand some things, develop the purpose statement in our first session. And in her pre-work, she was talking herself out of a break. She was like, I've been reflecting on this decision. And she's like, I would like to work with you to make my life better, but I'm not sure that I actually need a break. What I'm thinking is that maybe if I just took an extended like 4 weeks off, it would alleviate things. And maybe I'm just the problem. And maybe I just need to like tell my boss that I want to work on a different project. By the time she went through all of the pre-work and came to the first session, she was like, I need a break. I really need a break. I want to take a break. And she took a 15-month break. She's now back at work at a different company and her whole life is different, but from the inside out. It's the same. She's working in the same industry, not in the same industry, but like in the same type of role. She's in marketing and her job is not super different from the one she had before, but she feels like a completely different person. As a certified life coach, I can help people that don't want to take a break. And to your point, right? Activities like this are how we show up for life. That's really what I'm helping people do is show up for life differently and demand more out of the life that they have. But most of the people that are going to contact me and ask about working with me and decide to hire me for a coaching intensive or a 3-month package or just want to work with me, secretly there's a part of their spirit that's, I really want to take a break. I just don't know if I can. So if they decided that they didn't want to, we'll do the life coaching stuff and their life will be significantly changed. But most of the time, they really want to take one. They just haven't had the power or the confidence to give themselves full permission yet. And so they're looking for that sort of like validation that it's not crazy and that permission to really allow themselves to dream bigger and to go for the break. That said, a lot of my clients are working with me before their break begins. So we're not even like on the break. Their life is changing through this work before their break even starts. They also just have a really amazing plan to navigate that time off to make sure that it's successful.
After people take a break, do they find it challenging if they are trying to break back into the industry that they were in?
Absolutely not. This has been the most astounding finding, I think, for me. This is where the seed of what I do now and the book I wrote, this is where it all came from. I took my break and I ended up deciding to just keep traveling until I ran out of money, which ended up being 20 months, not 12. When I came back, I had only been in my post MBA career for 3 years at that point. I had 3 years of work experience in this new career, and I had just taken a 20-month break. And I didn't know what kind of world I was coming back into. I was looking for jobs around the holidays. That's when I decided it was like December when I was like, okay, I'm actually going to get back into this. I didn't have any reason to believe it would be easy. I didn't know that it would be easy, but I was really 100% sure that my break was really good. It was really life changing. And whoever got to work with me was getting a way better version of me than the version my last company had because of that break. I was so sure about that. I uploaded my resume. I did all the work to get my resume up and prep for like interviews and just get my mind. But from the day I uploaded my resume to the day I accepted a job with only 5 weeks. And in those 5 weeks, I had landed 5 job offers. And that was the moment where it clicked for me. One of them was a dream job. One of them was a big raise with a promotion. One of them was a career change. Like it was just this whole spectrum of opportunity. I was like, there is something very powerful to this break business. It's not just about making my personal life better. It's making my whole life better, which includes my professional life. That planted a seed for me to want to help other people in a more serious way do something similar. The clients that work with me, and especially the ones that work with me in the longer packages, we're doing a life edit. We're revisiting life. And the version of them that comes back from a break is more inspired, is more empowered, is more confident, is more restored, has more energy, and is just really motivated to get back to work and have an impact. That version of them showing up still has the same experience, the same network, the same connections, the same expertise, and the same education. They show up for that job search ready to go, and they oftentimes land jobs way sooner than they would ever expect. It's a way smoother process. Some of my clients have actually been poached out of their career break, so their break actually ends without any job searching because someone that they knew in a past life will find them and say, hey, or someone will see a recruiter contacted one of my clients to become a contractor with pay that was pretty much twice her rate as an employee before she took her break. So there's lots of magical stories like that. And I just think like showing up as your most confident self, your most restored self, you become a magnet and you just start attracting opportunities. And I actually think it makes the job search easier.
Wow. Yeah, nothing like taking a break and coming back for a massive pay raise.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, Katrina, you mentioned how you raised $40,000 or saved $40,000 for your own break. I think that's got to be the financial factor, I'm sure, is probably another reason that holds a lot of people back. So, I'm curious, are a lot of people single, married, families, and what creative ways have people found to be able to supplement or save while they decide to take this break?
Yeah. Oh, so juicy. So, to answer the demographics, I actually, in writing my book, I sent a survey out to my clients who were on a break or had taken a break to find out, right? Not just anecdotally, but what's really going on. How old are you? How many do you have kids? Do you have pets? Do you have a house? And I was surprised by the findings, but essentially, I'm 44. I find that my clients span from their early 30s to their later 50s, with the sort of mid 40s being the median on that. They're in that mid-career bucket. They are 30% have kids, about 60% have a partner, and then within that, the finances range very dramatically because I have clients who have a working partner, and when they decide to step away, they might have kids and decide to just spend some of that time with their kids. Not that's the whole reason for their break. They're not taking a childcare break, but while I have this, let me spend more time and more quality time with my kid. And so in those cases, sometimes the partner can absorb the cost and they just reduce their spending so that it doesn't have a really big impact on the bottom line. They're not getting their income, but they're also not really running in debt during that time. So you have that very low cost all the way up to my clients who are like, I had one client that maintained a home base in the US and traveled abroad. And so that was a very pricey break because she was managing sort of two locations at once and everything in between. But what I found, the average cost on a per monthly basis for every one of those people and everyone in between averaged out to about 3,600 US dollars a month. So that was what the average was. My break was a little bit less because I was doing a mix of things, sometimes staying in hostels, sometimes staying with friends, sometimes traveling and staying in hotels, but it was like a whole mix. But when it comes to the money piece, I think it's really important to for yourself distinguish, is it a permission problem or is it a financial problem? Because what I was surprised to learn when I started doing this, half of my clients already have the money. They have the money, they just don't feel like they're allowed to touch it. So they're like, I have to keep building this huge retirement nest egg. I have to put money into my investments. I have to do all the things that, of course, I'm going to do because I'm a responsible human. And so this break business is just this extra thing I just can't even imagine putting money towards, or I'm used to getting my steady paycheck and I can't imagine not having that. That's a permission thing. That is, what does it actually mean to afford a break? Because I am of the belief that you are exchanging your energy for that money. You're giving the company something big, which is your time and your energy for that money. It doesn't make sense to me to just collect money to stack it up to die rich. I want that money to also pour into my own well being, right? I think it's important to have that balance. But even if you have a partner or you have kids, the money should also be used to help you have a really good life and to really be able to take care and invest in your own well-being, which is what a well-designed break could do and could be. So it's really that question of, can you afford it? Do you want to do it? And then if you do, can you give yourself permission to spend money on your own well-being and to know that doing all the wise things and stacking it up like Scrooge McDuck as fast as you can and as far as you can in the background isn't always the most fulfilling way. But the other half of my clients legitimately don't have the money. Like I did not have the money. And for that, I say it's really about tracking everything you spend for 1 to 2 months to understand what choices you are actually making because so many of them are unconscious. If you're not aware of them, you can't change them. You think you know how much you're spending on things. You have buckets of what you think it's never exactly what you think it is. So if you want to make a change and you want to put more money into savings and save faster, you have to know what you're actually doing, not what you think you're doing. So that's like the very first step. From there, it's really a matter of making aligned decisions where when you're choosing between two things, saving for your break or spending money on a dinner out with your friends or something like that, whatever your thing may be, even fixing something in your house that's cosmetic, there's no wrong answer, but it's really understanding what's at stake for either one of those decisions. Because once you know your purpose statement, you know why you need this break. If we're talking about putting yourself back at the center of your life, It's like I could go out to eat and have some drinks with that and spend $100, or I could put $100 towards a fund to help me put myself back in the center of my life. That's another step I recommend for people is really reflecting on what are the choices I'm making and just making them consciously.
Do you have any thoughts around how people lose their way out of being the center of their own life?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the big things I see is deciding that you don't know best. It's like this decision by proxy or by popular vote where what job would I take? Where would I move? Where would I live? It's letting other people's opinions or even our perception of what we think their opinions are going to be the galley in the background, like voting on our decisions and not really tuning into ourselves. If you go down the road of trying to live your life to impress people or to win approval from other people or to please other people, or at least have people like you and to not create that friction and stand out too much, I think by default, you will end up with a life where you are not in the middle because your decision making has been given, right? You're just abdicating yourself of the ability to yield this power over your own life. That is something I was guilty of. I want to be successful and I want people to know I've done a good job. I'm just going to do what I think I should be doing. It's based on what my peers are doing. It's based on what my parents poured into me and wanting me to be successful. What do they think success is? Because Lord knows they raised me. They paid for half of my college education. I feel like I owe them something for all of that hard work. But feeling this sense of obligation or wanting to please people, that's one of the biggest ways we don't put ourselves at the center of our life. And then just logistically, if you have a partner or you have kids or you're caring for someone else, like a parent or something like that, somebody that has pressing needs, like they need you to keep them alive and to keep them well, it's really, you have to work very hard to make sure that you're pouring into yourself as well, because it's easy to think that this sort of emergency situation that can feel like an emergency, at least in that moment, needs more attention and more time. But if it's going over years, it's not really an emergency all the time. That's just not sustainable. You can't not pour back into yourself for years on end and think you're going to be okay. That is another sort of contextual scenario that people find themselves in where it's harder to keep yourself in the center of your own life.
So what do you do to keep yourself at the center of your own life? You took your sabbatical a number of years ago, and it seems like you are really centered. What are some things that you do to keep yourself in that center?
Yeah, I love that it seems that way. I have to be super honest and say it is still an ongoing battle, right? I have a business. I want my business to succeed. I wrote a book. It was over 500 writing hours while I was working in a business. I absolutely had to give up being the center of my life at different points in that journey. It's always a tension. I don't want anyone to think that it's this magical place you get to and then it's so easy to stay there. I think the work is on insisting that you belong there when you're not there and you realize you're not there to do the work to get back to the center. For me, sometimes that is just disconnecting. I can take 2 weeks off. Sometimes you just hit that wall where you're like, I just need some real serious me time to do the things I need to do and to just be silent or to just be alone or to just be with people I love. That's important. But also, knowing what fills your cup is really important. So many people are used to just focusing on work and then maybe family or maybe like the other responsibilities. We forget to have interests and hobbies and joys and passions. And if we are lucky enough to have a hobby in today's world, we feel like we have to turn it into a side hustle and find a way to make some side income on it so that we can get ahead. That can steal the joy of doing and creating just for the sake of doing and creating. That is another important thing is making sure that you're in some way pouring back into yourself. I actually have a planner that I've started using because I needed more structure to put myself back at the center. And that's one of the ways I'm doing it is I'm actively putting in a list of things that bring me joy, even something as simple as a really bougie candle that I love to smell and taking time to light it and just sit with that candle and smell it and just like meditate or just even stare out in space for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But I can't think of these things when I'm frazzled, burned out, or in a hurry, or work is screaming at me like, Katrina, you need to do this. Get back on your computer. Having that list really handy is very helpful. The other thing I would say is having a morning routine, deciding how you want to feel and taking care of yourself first before you open the door to the rest of the world and invite in the chaos of your email, the chaos of your cell phone, the chaos of the people around you can be very grounding and centering. When I'm able to do that, I find that it is so much easier to be and to feel like I'm at the center of my life.
I wanted to circle back a little bit because it sounds like you, after your sabbatical, went back into the workforce and now you've essentially created a brand new career for
Yes.
yourself as an entrepreneur. Do people, when they're writing their purpose statements, are any of them planning on having a different career at the end of their sabbatical, or does it tend to come up in the middle? Also, when you contacted everyone for your book, did you happen to find out how many of them went back to their previous career versus a change of career versus a whole other industry?
Yeah, such a great question. I'm lucky that my clients generally very much love me and they send me updates. I usually get to keep tabs on them even after their break. And the answer is it's D, all of the above. There are people that return to the same job, they take a sabbatical. There are people that return to a similar role, but at a different company that feels more aligned. Maybe it's a smaller company, maybe it's a company in a different location, maybe it's a company that just has a healthier work culture, or they have more of the stuff that they want to do in their day to day and less of the stuff they don't. Then there are people that want to create a lifestyle, right? They want to become a digital nomad or they want to work remotely and they want some element of freedom in their life and their time, but they're happy to go back to work, but they want to do it with a different kind of lifestyle attached to it. Then I have clients that are like, I want a career change. I want to do something different. Some of them go on to do their own thing in self employment, become an entrepreneur or a contractor or a freelancer, and then take strengths they have and pivot to something else that those strengths like benefit them. And then other people go back to corporate, or back to an employer, but they do it in a different way. I will say that just anecdotally, it seems like it's about a 50-50 split as far as self-employment journey versus going back to employer, whether it's similar, same, or different. But most of my clients are yearning at the beginning of their break for a change. I would say the majority of them come to me feeling like, gosh, I really hope this break leads to a different something at the end of the rainbow, maybe 60 to 70%, I would say. But a lot of times, like my one client, she was thinking she was going to go off and become like a writer, maybe, or do something more creative. But after her 15-month break, she realized I'm different and that's okay. Like I have the life I want now. And what feels good to me is having that steady income and rebuilding my savings and making an impact in a business with an employer and not having to go out and do all the stressful things. So start my own thing. She thought she would change and she ended up not changing. I find that happens. That was actually my story as well. I really didn't want to go back to corporate, but when I ended my break and I asked myself, what do I really want most in life? I wanted to be debt free so that I could do whatever I wanted for the rest of my life. And I had, oh my gosh, 40 something thousand dollars worth of MBA loans left to pay off. So corporate was how I knew how to do that as fast as possible. That's why I went back to corporate. And once I became debt free, then I got certified as a life coach and felt like the world became my oyster again. Sometimes it's a journey where the break creates a change, but the job stuff doesn't change until further down the road. Sometimes not at all. But I would say the majority of my clients want some kind of meaningful change. And it's about 50-50 as far as the ones that actually make the leap into something very different once their break has come and gone and ended.
So, Katrina, if someone has been burnt out for a while and they're thinking of a break, what do you think are three things that they should start either doing or thinking about to really help to hone in if a break is truly the right decision, or are they just using it as a way for an escape?
So good. Okay. So, number one, purpose statement. Imagine if you were going to take a break. Imagine just if you were going to give yourself permission. You don't need to know how long or exactly what you're going to do. But if you said, okay, I'm going to live in a parallel universe where I take this break, what is it about? What is it about? And what is it that I would get from it? What do I need from this experience? Because what you're secretly doing is you are uncovering the risk of not taking a break. I think that's really important. Anytime you want to make a decision, our brain will focus on what are we going to lose? What's going to change if we do this thing? What will I lose? But it's not assessing what's at risk. What will I not gain if I never make this change? So if you don't take a break, understanding how is my life going to look and am I okay with that? I'm going to be even more burnt out. I might have a health crisis. I might actually have to take a break because my employer realizes I just can't hack it because I'm just like so trying my best to hold it together and I can barely do that. I can't imagine I'm going to be doing this for another 5 years. So really understanding what would be the purpose of your break? What would you do with this time? What kind of change or experience are you looking for? Number two is look at your numbers. Absolutely look at your numbers. Even if you don't have the money, like I didn't have the money, it was so helpful for me to have $38,000 written down on a piece of paper and know if I want to buy a 1-year pass to freedom and travel the world, according to my wild estimations that were like, I didn't have any reason to believe they would be that accurate. Turns out they were accurate, but I didn't know. I just put the numbers down. That was so freeing to know there was a number that could buy the experience I needed and wanted. Then I had to decide, do I want to do the work and stay committed to reaching that goal? Know your number, know how much you either have now available. So maybe you have 15,000 and you're like, you know what? I would be willing to go 15,000 into my savings to give myself this break because I understand the purpose. I know what's at stake. Maybe it won't be a year, but I could do it for 3 months and that would be freaking magical, right? That's important. Know your number. So, purpose statement, know your number. The last piece is if you're already at that place where you feel burnt out and it feels like you're not sure that you could take a break, I encourage you to take a day off and to practice a day of white space, meaning no appointments, no errands pre-scheduled, no nothing. Clear calendar, no, oh, okay, great. That's a great day to go pick up my dry cleaning. Like nothing. You show up to that day with no plan and no agenda. And you ask yourself every minute of the day, what do I need or what do I want right now? You do that thing and you be present to that thing. And when you finish that thing, you ask yourself the question again, over and over again, and see how you feel at the end of the day. How did it feel to have a day with no obligations? How did it feel to have a day where I gave myself everything I needed and I actually listened to my body and I poured into myself? And then see how you feel. Do you feel restored? If you do, great. Maybe have a week-long staycation where you do more of that, right? If you feel like that was amazing and I'm still burnt out, then think like maybe I need to do this on a bigger scale. Maybe I really do need a break. And if you have kids or something like that and you can't do like a whole 24 hours of white space, that's fine. But give yourself 6 hours, right? Give yourself the work day that you would normally be working, but really give yourself a huge chunk of time to just be present to what you need in the moment because your brain might say, I should go for a run tomorrow. It's the perfect time to go for a run. And you might wake up and be like, I really want to be peaceful. I want to go meditate in the garden. I want to drive to the lake and just sit still. I want to read this book. I want to go have a donut and really enjoy it. I want to go walk around. I want to call my mom and see how she's doing. Really, truly allowing yourself to be present to your own needs in the moment can be really beneficial.
That all sounds absolutely amazing. I find that on Sundays in particular, there's so many different ways of getting pulled into obligations and setting yourself up for the week. And having just that white space to just fuel yourself again is probably something that people need to incorporate into their regular life. Can you tell us if people wanted to work with you,
Mhm.
where can they find you and how can they connect?
Yeah. So the easiest way to connect with me is to actually download my freebies. I have a list of 45 amazing things you can do on a break. I spent 5 years worth of emails digging through and putting this list together of things my clients have actually done. Some of them are really amazing things that are bigger, more travel oriented, but some of them are just really incredible how they tuned into themselves. One client actually started an animal sanctuary and became a certified equine healer. One of my clients made friends with a beekeeper next door and learned how to keep bees and chickens and decided to get his own chickens. This list is the best way. When you download the freebie, the 45 things, you'll become a member on my list and you'll get to know about the offers I have and the new things I'm doing. And I also share just like lots of wisdom about taking breaks. That's the easiest way. But you can find that at kmcgeecoaching.com/45 things. But yeah, it's a really fun list. So that's probably the best way to get connected with me. I personally respond to every email I get. So when you get that email, if you like it and you want to have a conversation with me or you want to consider working with me, you can just hit reply and tell me hello and we'll start a conversation.
Are you also on social media? Are you on Instagram?
I am. I am on Instagram and I show up there pretty consistently, but most of the time I'm on LinkedIn. I show up there a lot. So you can find me on LinkedIn. On Instagram, I'm at K McGhee Coaching. So you can find me there, same as my website. And like I said, I do show up there. I like to do stories there and keep it fun and behind the scenes. And then I like to share more snippets of my life and some wiser career breaking nuggets on LinkedIn.
Great. And then your book.
Yes.
Where can people get your book?
Yes, they can get my book on thecareerbreakbook.com. You can find it on Amazon for sure and Bookshop and in Barnes and Noble. If you want to pick it up in your hands, you can actually find it in many Barnes and Nobles in the US. But if you want to get it with a special bonus, you can go to thecareerbreakbook.com and buy it, put your little info in that you bought it, and then I'll send you a break blueprint to map out your own plan for a break.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope that a lot of people connect with you.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks so much. Thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, subscribe, and share with a friend. Want to learn more about a specific topic? Drop us a line on our website and we can explore it deeper with you.